What's up, guys? FKA Closer. If I could go back 7 years, I would record everything. The calls, the rejections, the wins, the losses, the team meetings, particularly like the team meetings at Traffic and Funnels, the team meetings at Sales Sniper, because those moments, now that I look back on all of them, those moments built me into the type of person that I am today. And obviously, you know, the career path that I've been on. But my biggest regret was that I never hit record. I never documented any of those moments publicly. And when I think back on it, like this is the biggest mistake. Maybe not a mistake, but like it's my biggest regret that I made in my entire sales career. And I'm looking at the screen today because I've got some notes. I don't want to miss certain things, but you know, it's been 7 years in high ticket sales, hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month closed, thousands of hours at this point spent on Zoom, in active calls, waiting for people to show up, all the things that come with the journey. But what I haven't done is I haven't built proof publicly. I haven't shown publicly and documented publicly all of the ups and the downs that built me professionally. So, no behind the scenes, no voice notes, really no documentation, just the memories that could have and should have been content. So that's, like I said, that's my biggest regret. And for you guys watching, if you are starting out or if you're early on in your high ticket sales journey, I really hope that this video today is a bit of a wake-up call, and I hope it can encourage you to to not make the same mistake. Get out there and document everything. It's all content. And, had I documented everything, we'd probably be having, very different conversations at this point. So here's the thing, like there's a version of my life, there's a time in my life that no one will ever see. And they're just memories now, but like the 12 p.m. morning meetings. So, I was working at one point, like one of my fondest memories was, working, getting the opportunity to work for Traffic and Funnels at the height of their dominance in the high ticket coaching and consulting space online. And if any of you know Taylor Welch, you know that he is an undeniably incredible entrepreneur, very, very smart guy, very intelligent entrepreneur. I have nothing but the utmost respect for him. And he took me, under his wing onto the team. I was a nobody, but he gave me a shot, right? He allowed me to have that opportunity. And for that, I'm forever grateful. I wish I documented that. I wish I documented those late night on my end. Obviously, Traffic and Funnels, their headquarters were in Nashville. Their morning meetings were like 12 p.m. my time. And so I can't go back. I can't go back and document those meetings that I had via Zoom with the rest of the team. And they had some incredible salespeople on that team. Peyton Welch, right? Incredible closer. I learned a lot from Peyton with my time, on that team. You all know Cole Gordon, who also came from Traffic and Funnels. Incredible entrepreneur. I actually started when Cole left, so I never got to meet Cole, but these moments I'll never get back. They are fond memories for me, but unfortunately I never documented them. Another one was when I joined Sales Sniper, and I'm not talking like the Sales Sniper that you all probably know. I'm talking about the original team back in 2019 when no one really knew who Matt Ryder was. That was an incredible time, meeting Matt Ryder, meeting Marco Cortesi, William Oldham, Rode, like the original team. They're incredible guys and very, very knowledgeable at sales. And I had the utmost privilege to work alongside them and be trained by them. And so this is when Matt was really getting heavy into the NEPQ stuff. And I remember one call that we had, and he asked me, do you follow like any sort of sales process or methodology? And up to that point, I was just using like the sales script that Sam Ovens had in Consulting Accelerator, which I think, I mean, it's been criticized, but I think it's still, to this day, a pretty solid framework that you can start from. But I didn't have a real methodology. And so that's when he started to show me everything about NEPQ and really coach me through that whole process. And so many role plays where, I was getting drilled on, objection handling frameworks and how to follow a script and all that type of thing. And so, again, looking back on those memories, like that would have been really cool for me to document. And it would be cool for you guys to probably see those moments and how much progression has taken place. But again, like these are memories, and this video, I'm really just trying to document all the things so I can look back on this video and remember those moments. But that's another fond one for me. I guess the biggest thing that I'm trying to emphasize is if you are a high ticket closer, particularly, and you're in your first year or a couple of years, if you're not documenting your journey publicly, don't be afraid. Be fearless. Put yourself out there. You don't have to know everything. And that's kind of what held me back for a lot of these years as well, is I was surrounded, and I was very, very fortunate to be surrounded by the world's best salespeople. And I have no doubt in that statement, like Matt Ryder, Marco, Anthony Vizzeri, these guys are the best in the world, and they helped me develop a lot. And for that, I'm forever grateful. But, that doesn't mean like I know everything about sales. I simply don't. But what I'm really trying to emphasize is that those moments of learning, it's all important, and you should document that publicly, because building a personal brand is never a bad thing as a closer. And you can really document what you're learning and how that's progressing. And if at the very least, it becomes something that you can fondly look back on and have those moments forever. So don't make the same mistake that I've made. Like I remember another time, I think it was in 2020 during the pandemic, and Matt Ryder and I were DMing each other over Facebook DMs, and he was telling me that he was closing two people live in the DMs on like a 20K or a 15K deal at the same time. And he was simply following like a text-based version of the NEPQ script. And so like, I know it's become a bit of a trend, like closing the DMs or like no call closing. But like back in 2019, Matt was doing that for fun. And he and I were having a laugh about like who's going to buy first. And he was literally like in the DMs with two people at the same time, closing them live in front of me. And we were just having a good laugh about it. And he was showing me the screenshots, and literally two people paid at the same time, high ticket. And this is back when I felt like in order to close a deal that's beyond $3,000, you have to have a phone call. You have to jump on Zoom. Meanwhile, here's Matt doing it in the DMs and having an absolute ball and laughing and enjoying the process. And so those little moments would have been so cool to document. But again, I'm super grateful that I even got to experience that, because it broke a lot of my thinking and belief systems around selling. Also, just the team meetings, like being at Traffic and Funnels, and I was not there for a very long time, maybe a couple of months. I ended up getting fired from Traffic and Funnels. But again, no regrets, no hard feelings. They had very high standards. And at the time, I was new to selling. I did quite well. I think I had like maybe a 25, 30% close rate. And I was literally, I think at that point, maybe 8 months into my sales career. So again, very grateful I had the opportunity. But, that environment, and I remember Taylor had a team training manual for the sales team. And that stuff taught me about biology and daily routines and identity and certainty. And a lot of the principles that I carried throughout the last 7 years, I I got from my time with traffic and funnels and with Taylor. And so super grateful for that opportunity. And that's the thing when you invest in your environment and you get the opportunities to work with high level entrepreneurs, don't take it for granted because there's things that they will teach you that will carry you through later into your career, not just professionally, but also personally as well. And so those are some things that I wish I could have documented publicly because I don't see a lot of people, even to this day, talking about the things that I learned whilst, you know, selling for one of the world's best entrepreneurs. Again, in my opinion, super biased, I know, but like you cannot deny how good of an entrepreneur people like Taylor and Matt are. And so document, document. You know, if you're jumping on a team meeting, a Zoom call, you're practicing your script, you're doing some role plays, like these are all opportunities where you can document publicly. You don't have to show all the secret sauce, of course, but like 7 years in the game and no one knows who I am. So you get my point. Another fond memory for me was when I rejoined Sales Sniper after a 2 year hiatus. I went away for a little bit. I closed for a particular offer, and I never wanted to stop closing for that offer. It was going really, really well. But again, coming back to Sales Sniper for a moment, and the team had heavily expanded at that point. I think Brian Choi was on the team, and he was closing for an e-com offer that I started on, and he absolutely mopped the floor with me. Again, another great young entrepreneur there that I got to meet. Very happy that I got that opportunity as well. But I remember Anthony asking me, like, you know, I'm aware of who you are. How many closes do you do on average? You know, how many calls per week, but how many closes per week as well? You know, the basic kind of KPIs and metrics. And at the time, I was averaging like 5 to 8 closes a week was kind of my average. And he's like, hey, after we're done with you, closing 15 to 20 per week is going to be a cakewalk. And when he said that, I was like blown away, but I kind of wasn't surprised at the same time because I know the standards. I knew the standards of Matt, Marco, and Sales Sniper at the time. So it kind of didn't surprise me, but at the same time, I was like, oh, I've never done that. Not sure how I feel about that, but I kind of brushed it off, try to be cool about it. But then, you know, fast forward about 6 to 12 months, I wasn't on Sales Sniper. I'd left again. But on another offer, it was the first time that I did 22, 23 closes in a week, in a single week. It was the most I'd ever done. And that's something that I'm super happy with and proud of. But I didn't think that was possible before hearing what Anthony had to say. And so again, like, great opportunity to document what I was thinking and feeling at the time. Now I have to do that in hindsight. But again, getting around high-level people and hearing what they have to say and how they see the world through their perspectives can really help break some paradigms and some beliefs that you may have that may not be serving you. So again, another great memory there and opportunity. And so I know today, like, we live in a world where, you know, people want to document everything from like what they had for breakfast to like what movie they're going to see with their partner. And I understand that. But like, I came up in a world where that wasn't really a thing when I started in my high ticket sales career. I think it comes back to the fact that I was always in like perpetual motion. I was always doing a follow up or chasing like the next deal, the next opportunity, you know, jumping on Zoom calls, getting cancellations, no shows. And a lot of you watching can probably relate. But I never really paused long enough to realize that I was building a story that was probably worth sharing, or at least some moments, some insights that others would probably find valuable. You know, like all of the calls, the practicing of the scripts, the frameworks. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've written down Matt's frameworks. Like, you know, if you're familiar with them, the ice cream truck versus the burning building, the deer and the bear, like these analogies, these frameworks, like I practice those over and over and over again. all of that chaos, all of that activity, that's all gone. And so like those moments, they helped build the income, they helped build the skill set, and amongst certain entrepreneurs, build a reputation, but never really a legacy. And so, like, I've got a point here. Legacy isn't built from what you achieve; it's built from what you leave behind. And I left no record of what I was doing for the past 7 years behind. No real record, right? Just being in constant motion and activity. And so if you're just getting started in high ticket sales, don't make the same mistake that I made. Document your journey, not because you need followers, right? Like no one's going to praise you for that. And last time I checked, you can't pay for your mortgage with followers. But documenting what it does and what it's doing for me right now, it's forcing me to think deeper, to reflect more, and to lead in a more effective way, right? And so like, just take that on board. Hopefully that's a point that really hits home for you. So that's all I've got for today. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts. Tell me about your journey and how you plan to document more and really put yourself out there. And as always, until next time, happy selling.